countdown, we have the violent whirlpool. Located in Scotland, the Carigrium Maelstrom is a permanent, powerful vortex. In fact, this is said to be the third strongest in the world, and depending on the weather conditions, this thing can get pretty deadly. In fact, there are countless tales of ships being sucked into the whirlpool's vortex. The lucky ones will just get spun out of control, but they'll survive. Not only that, but this whirlpool can produce standing waves as high as 15 feet high. So you don't want to be anywhere near it when that happens. In our ninth spot today, we have Lion City. The Lion City, or Shaicheng, is a 1300-year-old city located in Eastern Europe that now lies completely underwater. But it wasn't always like that. In the late 1950s, the city was purposely flooded to build a hydroelectric power station in the area. What's pretty fascinating is that although it lays about 40 meters underwater, the buildings are still in pretty good shape. The only change is instead of having human residents, it's now home to tons of aquatic life. Now, it laid untouched until 2001 when it was rediscovered. Now, you may be wondering, why was it given the name Lion City? And that's because there are a number of carved lions featured in the city, but they also have carved dragons and phoenixes there as well. Sadly, only experienced divers are permitted to explore the city. That's because of the depth and temperature and low visibility down there. But alas, you can still see how cool it is by Googling images of it. And honestly, it's quite beautiful. In our 8th spot today, we have the Mulifanua site. Very little information is known about this next city. Located in Samoa, this city was discovered in the 1970s. Basically, a bunch of pottery shards were found and researchers were like, dude, there's probably more down there. And then they were right. In the end, they found thousands of pieces of pottery. But not only that, they found the remnants of a village. The village dates back to around 800 BC. In fact, it's considered one of the largest villages in the area. Like I said though, not much is known about this village, making it quite the mystery. In our 7th spot, we have WANAKU, Bolivia. Back in the day, residents in the area were told great stories of a long-lost underwater city, much like Atlantis. They said the city contained heaps of Spanish gold. And looks like part of the story was actually true. Recently, divers in the area found ruins of an ancient temple complex. This temple is said to be more than 1,500 years old. More than 200 dives have taken place to get a better understanding of this ancient city. Who knows though, maybe there is gold and other priceless artifacts buried around there somewhere. Coming in at number 6, we have PAVLOPETRI, Greece. Back in 1967, an oceanographer discovered a number of ancient ruins underwater in southwestern Greece. What he didn't realize is that later this would lead to him finding an ancient underground town. In fact, this is considered the oldest underwater city. It dates all the way back to the Bronze Age. It was believed to have been above water from the 3rd millennium until 1100 BC. What's crazy is that there's almost an entire complete city underwater. You got streets, buildings, churches, gardens, tombs, you name it. It really is breathtaking. Nowadays, they created a 3D image of what this city might have once looked like. And it's pretty freaking cool if you ask me. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with Japan's Atlantis, aka the sunken city of Yonaguni. Just off the coast of Yonaguni lies a city completely sunken underwater. There are complete pyramids, ruins of a castle, structures etched with faces, and rock sculptures that look like animals, all underwater. Every structure has such intricate design and detail. Like there's a monument made up of a series of rock formations, including carved steps, stone pillars, and a triangular formation. Now, what's weird is that we don't know the origins of this mysterious city. It's theorized that a terrible earthquake caused the city to be engulfed by the water, but we don't know for sure. To this day, this city has left experts baffled. It's one of Japan's greatest unsolved mysteries. Moving on to number 4, we have Villa Apician. Located in Argentina, this was a thriving city in the 1970s. It was home to about 500 residents, and they had about 300 businesses there. That was until the late 1980s when it sank completely underwater. During that time, they were receiving far more rain than usual. Soon, the lake around them began to swell. It ended up breaking the dam and sinking the entire city. In 1993, the town was about 33 feet underwater. That was until 2009, when some of the water receded and part of the town became visible again. Old rusted cars and debris were then exposed out of water. But of course, most of the town will continue to remain underwater, and the parts exposed will probably be flooded over again. Moving on, at number 3, we have ATLIT. Located off the coast of Atlit, Israel, this city is said to be between 8,300 to 8,900 years old. It was first discovered in 1984 by a marine archaeologist, Ehud Galili. Since then, a number of expeditions have taken place in order to unearth this city. The city is about 10 meters below sea level and covers an area of 40,000 square meters. What's fascinating about this place is that right in the middle, it has this massive 10-acre stone circle thing. We don't know what's up with that, but many believe it might have been used for some kind of ritual. Over the years, a number of houses, graves, and wells have been discovered in this city. Scientists believe that the city was struck by a tsunami which caused a volcanic eruption, causing the city to flood and then sink. In our second spot, we have Dwarka, India. Back in the day, there was a legend that was passed down about a city laying 131 feet below the ocean. This was a legend until the 2000s, when it came to life. The story of this magical city everyone had been told was indeed real. Since then, a number of ancient artifacts have been unearthed in this city, including pottery and sculptures. Also, they found a number of human bones. After running carbon dating tests on it, it revealed that the city could be almost 10,000 years old. It truly is incredible. Again, we don't know how the city came to be or what happened to it. And in our number 1 spot today, we have HERACLEION, Egypt. Located just northwest of Alexandria is the sunken city of HERACLEION, and is referred to as Egypt's Atlantis. It lay lost under the sea until the early 2000s. A group of divers were working off the Egyptian coast when they found a large fragment of rock under the seabed, or so they thought. It was just a rock. When they brought it out of the water, they found it to be a sculpture of the Egyptian god of fertility. After this discovery, they madly went to work exploring the area. They ended up discovering pieces of pottery, ancient coins, jewelry, busts, and ruins of a temple. Just tons and tons of priceless artifacts. How the city ended up underwater is still a mystery. One theory, though, is that it had to do with the rising sea levels and crumbling foundations of the city, causing it to slide into the Mediterranean Sea. Now, I'm not trying to pick favorites, but out of all the places on today's list, this is the one that I'd love to visit. Starting off this countdown, we have New York. New York, the concrete jungle where dreams are made of, is at risk. The main reason being, it's built on an island. Rising sea levels and islands do not mix. It's predicted that the sea level may rise 4 to 8 inches over the next decade. And you may be like, big deal. Well, a 5-foot rise means that LaGuardia Airport and portions of Manhattan would be underwater. By 2100, most of New York could be underwater. In our 9th spot, we have the Underwater Memorial. The Sunken Crosses of Malpeque is an underwater graveyard located in Spain. This spot commemorates a group of 16th century missionaries that were killed by pirates before being thrown into the sea. The site features 40 stone crosses at the bottom of the sea off of the coast of La Palma in the Canary Islands. The site was created in 2000. Locals created 1 cross for each person that was killed, and then they purposely had them sunk in their honor. So it is literally an underwater graveyard, which is cool, but it's also creepy at the same time. It is now forever a site to remember the horrors that happened to these people. Moving on to number 8, we have Jason Voorhees. Imagine you're swimming along in a lake minding your own business when all of a sudden you see Jason from Friday the 13th chained to the bottom of the lake. I don't know about you, but I would become like Michael Phelps and just speed swim my way out of that ocean. Here's the thing, there is a Jason at the bottom of a lake. Turns out that someone put a creepy statue of Jason Voorhees at the bottom of a lake in Arizona. The chains around him add a creepy touch as well. Turns out the statue was placed in Lake Pleasant in 2018 by a diver named Zachary Nagy. According to him, it took weeks upon weeks to make. When asked why he did it, he said that it is common for divers to place objects underwater, kind of to act like a marker. Apparently there's a poker table, fake skeletons, even a Christmas tree down there as well. But this one is definitely the creepiest. It must have given some of the divers quite a fright when they first swam into it. Now, Lake Pleasant Regional Park supervisors as well as local officials instructed Zachary to remove the statue. He didn't end up doing so though. But the creepiest part? When they went down there to remove it themselves, it was nowhere to be seen. Moving on to number 7, we have the underwater Stonehenge. England's Stonehenge is a pretty mysterious site. There's a lot we don't know about it, like how was it built, what was its purpose, so on and so on. Well, it turns out that there is a Stonehenge located underwater. It can be found at the bottom of Lake Michigan. There are a bunch of random rock formations that scientists have been struggling to explain, but it's believed that they are thousands of years old. What makes it even weirder is that on one of these stones, they discovered a carving of a mastodon, a relative of an elephant that went extinct like over 10,000 years ago. So they're like, maybe this structure has been here since the last ice age. We really don't know how old they truly are, who built them, and why. In our 6th spot, we have the massive shark statue. So it appears as if divers enjoy giving other divers heart attacks. This time, someone placed a giant shark statue underwater. Holy, if I saw that thing, I legit would have a heart attack, or I'd probably just choke on the water and drown. The shark can be found in Lake Neuchatel in Switzerland. This is 10 times scarier than Jason. Like at first glance, it looks real. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the Sunken Sculpture Park. Located in the Caribbean just off the coast of Grenada, you will find a number of underwater statues. Some of them include life-sized casts of local children or a ring of people holding hands. Nowadays, the sculptures are covered in vegetation and in barnacles. The ocean has completely claimed them. So I won't lie, it looks pretty creepy, but it definitely is a place to see. In our 4th spot, we have the Dead Humans. Now, this is a very undeniably creepy art site. Located just off the coast of North Africa in the shallow waters around one of the Canary Islands, you have 200 human figures laying dead on the ocean floor. This was an art installation trying to highlight global warming. All the dead humans are said to be victims of global warming. This site is called Human Gyre and it is open to the public if you wish to dive down and see it for yourself. If you do, you'll see a ring of humans stacked on top of each other. If I dove down and I didn't have a warning about what this was, I would literally think that it was a portal to hell or something. Coming in at number 3, we have the Dragon's Triangle. The Dragon's Triangle, or the Devil's Sea, or the Pacific Bermuda Triangle, is an area where a number of different ships and military vessels have gone missing, which is why it's considered the Pacific Bermuda Triangle. Fun, not so fun fact, it is considered one of the most dangerous marine locations around the world. In 1950, a team of researchers exploring the area set out, and they never returned home. Their bodies were never found. And over the years, a number of US and Japanese ships have gone missing in that area. One time, 9 American ships went missing in that area on a day with perfect weather. To this day, they haven't been found, and we literally don't know what happened to them. Moving on, at number 2, we have the Mariana Trench. The Mariana Trench is located in the western part of the Pacific Ocean, and it is the deepest part of the ocean. It is about 2,550 kilometers long and 69 kilometers wide. The exact depth though is unknown because we haven't been able to get to the bottom of it, which makes it pretty creepy. Scientists say that there could be sea creatures down there that we have never even heard of, but we won't be able to find out because we can't get down there. It's so deep that apparently if you take Mount Everest and put it in the trench, its summit would still be underwater by more than 2 kilometers. So yeah, it's really deep and creepy. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the ghost ships. Now, there is an area in the ocean rumored to be incredibly haunted, and this is located just adjacent to the Bermuda Triangle. How fitting. So this is the shoreless Sargasso Sea. There's no shoreline, hence its name. Its boundaries are ocean currents. Not only is it filled with seaweed so thick that it floats on the surface of the water, but it's haunted. A number of people have spotted long-lost ships floating in the area. When they pull up to it, no one is on board. Not only that, but others have claimed to see faces appear in the seaweed, as if someone was trapped in the ocean looking up at them. How creepy is that? Starting off this countdown, we have Port Royal, Jamaica. Port Royal was once known as the wickedest city on earth. It was home to real-life Pirates of the Caribbean. It had a population of over 7,000 people. That was until 1692. On June 7th of that year, a massive earthquake caused a deadly tsunami to strike the land. 2,000 people sunk along with the entire city. People thought that this was done by God to try and get rid of the pirates, but honestly, those that survived just moved further up the coast. The city was forgotten about until the 1950s, when underwater excavations caused the city to become rediscovered. Today, this city is considered one of the best preserved underwater cities in the world. Coming in at number 9, we have Bangladesh. By 2050, it is believed that 17% of Bangladesh's land will be flooded, leaving 18 million citizens homeless. Now, historically, people in Bangladesh have been able to work around seasonal flooding. When water levels rise, farmers would stop their food production and people would seek work other places, and then they would return home. But soon, that won't be an option for them. Soon, they will have even more extreme seasonal floods. But also, they might be hit with more disastrous storms and high tides. Typically, that only occurs for them once each decade. But by 2100, it could be a regular thing, occurring 3 to 15 times a year. Soon, they're going to be forced out of their homes. Moving on at number 8, we have Miami, Florida. Conditions are getting so bad in Miami that the city may have to soon raise its structures to stay above water. In fact, environmental writer Jeff Goodall said, and I quote, "There's virtually no scenario under which you can imagine Miami existing at the end of the century. Isn't that scary?" In fact, it's believed the sea level could rise anywhere from 10 to 30 feet by the end of this century. Soon, the flooding will take over the beaches. It'll be too expensive for the government to maintain, so they'll just disappear. A reason for this is because the ground under is largely porous limestone, so eventually water will just rise up through it and then flood the land. Now, the city has taken some measures like raising roads, installing pumps, but it still might not be enough. So if you've ever wanted to go to Miami, you better take a visit soon. Coming in at number 7, we have Key West, Florida. Honestly, a lot of areas in Florida are at risk. In fact, Key West is said to be one of the first US cities to start flooding due to the rising sea levels. Statistics show that the sea level has risen 9 inches over the past century. By 2060, it is believed that over 60% of the livable land there will have been flooded. In 2100, 95% of livable land will be flooded. Those are some pretty terrifying statistics. Moving on at number 6, we have Charleston, Central, South Carolina. Studies show that the sea levels in Charleston have risen around 12 inches over the past 100 years. The rate at which it's going faster and faster. 5 of the 12 inches have been blamed on subsidence. In the 1970s, Charleston would get around 2 days of flooding per year. Well, now it's believed that flooding would become a regular thing by 2045. In fact, the floods experienced in South Carolina have increased 75% since 2000. And because of Charleston's low elevation, it's very vulnerable to flooding. There are already 90,000 properties at risk from the tidal floodings in South Carolina. By 2060, it's believed that around a quarter of the livable land in Charleston will be underwater, over half by 2100. Good news though is that the state is planning to put in $2 billion towards sea level rising solutions, which would include raising roads, seawalls, and drainage improvements. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Marshall Islands. The Marshall Islands are a bunch of volcanic islands and coral atolls located in the Central Pacific Ocean. Sadly, they're at a huge risk of being wiped out completely. It's said that by 2035, some of the Marshall Islands will be completely submerged. Others will no longer have drinking water because their water will become contaminated with salt water. As a result, the 58,000 people living there will be forced to find a new place to live. The other option is to build new artificial islands for the residents to live on. But that would take years and would be very costly. It probably wouldn't be done in time for the residents to move. If nothing is done to stop this by 2045, they will be completely underwater. Coming in at number 4, we have Fiji. Man, Fiji is so beautiful and I've always wanted to go there. Looks like we all better take a trip ASAP because the sea level has been dramatically rising. This is due to the bad cyclones, erosion, and flooding they experience there. In fact, the sea levels have been rising an average of 6 millimeters a year since 1993. Then in 2012, an entire village had to abandon their homes and move to higher grounds because of the flooding. Other villages claim they have lost 12 to 20 meters of shoreline due to the sea levels rising. By 2050, sea levels are expected to rise up to 43 centimeters. Not only that, but the coral there is at risk. The rising ocean temperatures are damaging the coral reefs, causing coral bleaching. This turns the coral white, making them more vulnerable to disease. It's really sad and scary. In our third spot, we have New Orleans. So personally, I say New Orleans, but I think it's pronounced New Orleans. You guys came at me one time in the comments section, so just let me know which way it is. Parts of New Orleans is sinking at a rate of 2 inches per year. Studies show that by 2100, it could be underwater. Some parts are already 15 feet below sea level. In 2005, they were hit with the disastrous Hurricane Katrina, which caused a lot of destruction and flooding. But they managed to recover over the years. But its location on a river delta increases their exposure to sea level rise and flooding. In 2016, a study conducted by NASA found that parts of New Orleans were sinking at a rate of 2 inches per year. If this keeps up, they will be underwater by 2100. Moving on to number 2, we have Bangkok. Bangkok is sinking at a rate of more than 1 to 2 centimeters a year. Currently, it is only 0.5 to 2 meters above water. Much of Bangkok is already lower than the sea level. So it's believed that it could be fully below sea level by 2030. They only have 10 years to come up with a solution to this problem, or else many residents will be left homeless. A reason why this is happening is because the metropolitan area was built on what was formerly marshland. That, combined with years of excessive groundwater pumping and the constant building, have put a strain on the foundation. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta is said to be the world's fastest sinking city. North Jakarta has sunk 2.5 meters in 10 years, and now it's sinking 25 centimeters a year in some parts. Research shows that by 2050, 95% of North Jakarta will be submerged underwater. In fact, currently almost half of the city is now below sea level. Many buildings are already being flooded. They have tried to repair the buildings from these floods, but they just keep getting damaged, and so they're forced to evacuate. So the 13 rivers running through Jakarta do play a role in this problem. But nowadays, with climate change, it just keeps getting worse. The Indonesian government has a plan in place to move the capital onto the island of Java to protect 10 million residents from this flooding. But this move would take 10 years and cost $33 billion. So it's a very sad and tragic reality.